Hey, welcome back everybody. Jeff Frick here, coming to you from the eGen Lounge at Google Cloud Next. We're talking about agentic enterprises, and that was really the theme of today's keynote. We're excited to have our next guest who's working with the ecosystem and working with partners to help enterprises get on their agentic journey a little faster and a little bit more successful. So welcoming in, she's Samrah Khan, the Director of System Integrator Partnerships for Google Cloud. Samrah, great to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so big announcement this morning, $750 million investments to help enterprises get beyond chatbots, but to get into the agentic world. Talk about the importance of partners and this investment to kind of accelerate this AI adoption beyond where we were just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here and super excited to be working with eGen. Look, I think getting into 2026, we talked about this morning the tremendous growth that Google Cloud had coming from 2025 into 2026 in terms of our revenue growth, in terms of our backlog, in terms of our percentage growth. And so what are we doing? What we're doing is we are investing that success back into our partner ecosystem, because we understand very well that our partner ecosystem is the fuel to the engine that we call Google Cloud Gemini Enterprise. So with that being said, we did a big announcement today that Google is going to invest $750 million back into our partner ecosystem. And a big focus for this investment is sort of going to be in three areas. Number one, what are we doing in terms of training, enablement, certification, and upscaling our partners that have really made a bet, and not just with Google, but with our agentic AI platform called Gemini Enterprise. Second thing, how do we get the engineering excellence, off the ground with our partners? So we're really going to co-invest with our partners in what we call our forward deployment engineers, and how do we create alignment on delivering outcome-based results to our customers with our FDEs, hand in hand working with our partners. And last but not the least, co-investment in the go-to-market and sales around acceleration of our agentic AI platform. So I think more details will come out on how we will execute on it over the next few weeks, but couldn't be excited enough on the big commitment that Google Cloud has made into the partner ecosystem. It just shows how serious we are in making our partners like eGen very, very successful with Google Cloud.
So you guys have the technology and the partners have the subject matter expertise, and they're a lot of times more the feet on the ground. Before we get into their piece, talk about Gemini and Gemini Enterprise. And it's just wild how the Gemini Foundation is just spreading. We see it in our Chrome browser, we see it in our workplace, we see it now in I covered robotics. The Gemini Robotics Foundation model is amazing, and now you've got it for enterprise and for governments. What a powerful tool to have under the covers for these partners to go to market with.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I think, if you look at our AI journey over the last 2 decades, as you know, that Google Cloud, historically, whether it's DeepMind, whether it's in other, medical research, always has been a leader in AI. And agentic AI to us is no different than AI holistically as a whole. However, it's very important for us to help our customer, front office and back office, in the front office and back office areas, specifically now looking at what business processes need agentification, and how do we help them do that? And Gemini Enterprise actually holds the key to the lock on that door, because traditionally what we have done is like somebody sitting somewhere will make certain decisions, and then those business processes would get pushed down to the line of businesses. However, in the era of agentic AI, or in the time of Gemini Enterprise, now we actually start at the line of business. We look at the business process, and then we use Gemini Enterprise to reimagine that particular business process and deliver the business outcomes for that particular line of business in the matter of days and weeks, and not months and years. So I just couldn't be excited enough, and I think our partners are equally excited as we are.
Yeah, so you just talked about doing it in weeks instead of in months or years, and if you think about kind of a classic procurement process where someone defines a problem and then they write up a big RFP and send it out, and it takes a long time. how are the enterprises with the partners adopting to do smaller, I hate to say pilots or proof of concepts, but pilots or proof of concepts, and then get them to a place where then they can develop the full solution based on that and move forward, and where's the partner play in that process?
Yeah. So Jeff, I think it's a little bit more than pilot and proof of concept,
Good.
right? I feel like
we need a new word. What is a new word?
I call it, delivering day zero value. We were doing pilots.
Day zero value, okay.
Day zero value.
Good.
We were doing pilots and proof of concept sometimes in 2024, right? We're not about, tell, we're all about show. Right, and it's not that this is what we're doing, this is what our customers are asking us. Our customers are not asking us when we will transform. The customers are asking us how we will transform, and more importantly, how quickly can you transform the business processes. So I think what's very, very important, both for Google Cloud as well as our partners, is to really understand that this whole concept of traditional system integrator, time and material type of SOW is going to become outdated very, very soon. In the world of agentic AI, more and more customers are demanding that they want to have SOWs that are all based on business outcomes, and they're all based on business outcome on what I call day zero value. What that means is that you come in, you pick a specific business process at a smaller level within a specific business function, and you show what value it can drive on day zero, and then from there in parallel, you're building a plan in place on what will happen on day 90, and then what will happen on day 365 or a year or 6 months from now. So I think it's very important that the partners are thinking about the business the same way. Number one, they're investing in having deep domain industry experience. So if you are in healthcare and life sciences, you need to understand what payers' needs are, what providers' needs are, what medtech needs are, and they're all very different. So having deep domain expertise from the partner's perspective is very, very important, because again, I believe that they supercharge, the engine or the technology hub that Google Cloud is. And then our customers come in, take the point of view that the partners have from the industry perspective and the business function perspective, how the technology fits into it, and jointly together with us, then deliver a business outcome.
Okay, so if we look back, say 8 years ago, this exact conversation we would be having would be about moving to the cloud. As enterprise were starting their cloud journey, right? So I wonder—
The good old digital transformation.
Exactly. And then there's always a split between saving money and investing to grow, right? Using new capabilities to save or new capabilities to grow. Is there some lessons that you can see that we can learn from kind of cloud adoption, and where are we on kind of the, I want it to save versus I want it to grow?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Look, we went through the journey, I would say more like 10, 15 years ago. I spent some time at MuleSoft, right? And we had this concept of two shadow IT. What basically that meant was, hey, we're not, you have on average, 17 different applications in an enterprise. They all sit in the cloud somewhere. They're all in a silo. And then you have all this 30, 50 years of legacy data sitting on-prem, especially in the regulated industry. And the digital transformation was all about not how I'm going to rip and replace on-prem. It was all about how I will have these on average 17 applications talk to the on-prem data or systems or ERPs or CRMs or whatever it may be. And it was all about, I will keep the light on by having that data still there or having whatever exists on-prem there, but I will create that connectivity between on-prem and cloud of applications so you don't have that silo. And you keep the lights on, two shadow IT, basically one
right.
and the other. I think we're seeing the exact same thing with agentic AI, that it's not about we're going to come in and take you on a 5-year journey where we'll say, hey, replace your whole data platform, replace your infrastructure, replace all your business processes. What we're going to come in and say is, hey, these are the areas where we are going to drive employee productivity, cost of ownership, etc., where we can actually, save you money or lower TCO. But then more and more customers are talking to us about monetization and driving top line revenue. So I think both conversations are equally important. For example, a good starting point is I'll go somewhere and we'll do enterprise search, right? And that would be a use case. But the reality is, stopping at enterprise search is just not enough. You have to then deploy agents to make this actionable, to change a business process, to really have differentiation in employee productivity. But then at the same time, how do I transform my marketing processes so my demand gen campaign has an ROI of 38% instead of 28%. So I think it's not just about productivity and lower cost of TCO anymore, it's all about monetization and growing the top line revenue as well. And I think we have to holistically think about when we are going into an enterprise, what their pain points are, understand that and have a starting point. And that's not the ending point. We'll eventually get to the other areas, but it's not rip and replace either.
If you're coming in relatively fresh, someone just got a mandate and they need to do something, are there certain particular functions, roles, departments that are just the really easy, you've seen it before and this is the place we know that we can have early success, easy success?
Yes, so we have seen some of them already. So a lot of our enterprise customers have already adopted a lot of different employee productivity use cases, whether it's like ticketing, whether it is human resource related, whether it is like writing a job description, whether it is forecasting, writing sales proposals, doing market research on accounts, etc. Right? So sales, marketing transformation, human resources, and just I have personally deployed 6-7 different agents that organize my inbox, tell me what actions I need to take that are time sensitive before I end my day, what are the actions that can wait. A good real example will be I have about 17 different events that I need to go to today and I use Gemini Maps to sort of give me the best route possible with most optimized way to hit the most number of events with less amount of steps. It's still 36,000 steps, so I'm going to be pretty fit coming out of this conference, but it's just like a very simple use case that, last year when I was here, I didn't have, and there was 5 times I did back and forth here and there with not the most optimized route. So I think those are some of the basic use cases, not basic, but preliminary use cases that we can get our enterprise customers off the ground. But then we get into a lot of back office use cases, which are a bit more complex and require A2A engagement and require multi-agent deployment, where then we are really, really talking about big top line impact as well as a bottom line impact.
Right. So some of these things are successful and you end up hearing about it and some of them are not. Is there some attributes that successful projects the customer and the team have that you see consistently that you can pretty much say these people are going to have success, and not to diss on everybody else, but are there some certain red flags where you're just like, this is just not going to work for you guys at this stage?
Gemini Enterprise or agentic AI in general is not like baking a cake, which is you have a specific recipe, you bake the cake once and you perfect it over the time with the same recipe. The reality is that the customer, the partners, and innovators like Google Cloud building the technology, we're all learning together. What we're selling today didn't really exist 6 months ago or probably even 90 days ago. So the formula for success is changing, very fast. However, what I do know is that not doing anything and just waiting for things to be perfect and bake a perfect cake, the cost of not doing anything is much higher than getting out the gate, experimenting and even failing, but failing fast, and then moving on to realization of the value is very, very important. I think as long as the enterprises are making a bet on a technology in the agentic AI, from the agentic AI perspective, and making a bet on the partner that really understands their domain and their industry, and sort of put that together, are going to be successful. Enterprises that are kind of just in a wait and see mode, or they're like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and a whole lot of nothing, are the enterprises that quite frankly are going to be left behind. And by the way, the same goes for the partners, right? There are shakers and movers that made a bet on us early on, and out the gate they're already seeing success, and the others were like, hey, I'm still going to go do what I was doing for last 20 years because I got it this far because of that. what they're missing the boat on is that what got them from there to here is not taking them from here to,
Right.
to the next thing. That's why I am very bullish about partners like eGen that are going deep and wide and making bets with partners, like Google Cloud, to make sure they build a scale for the future that they need for their business.
Right. Well, and like you said, it really shows you need to have a partner, because if what didn't exist 6 months ago, it's just too much to do by yourself. So having a good partner is pretty important to being successful.
Yeah. And Google has always been of this, has a strong point of view on building an open stack, right? And building a stack that has connectivity into the customer ecosystem and not do a vendor lockdown. And with that being said, we have never wanted to build a massive army of consultants and that are going to go do our own deployment. We are a technology company, and we need the scale of the innovative partners like eGen that are forward-thinking, forward-leaning, to come in to invest with us and go get the customers jointly, right? A good example of it is eGen making the bet early on and investing and hiring forward deployed engineers, because these are the people that are front and center. They're there, they have deep technical expertise, but they also understand the business process.
Right.
And are coach and player at the same time within an account, depending on what the customer needs are. And I think that's the recipe for success.
Love it. Well, Samrah, I think we have to launch you on your 34,527th step as you complete your journey through Google Cloud Next and the Mandalay Bay. But thank you for spending a few minutes. Really exciting, and really exciting for the investment to put the money where the mouth is.
Yep, couldn't be happier. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. She's Samrah, I'm Jeff. We're at the eGen Lounge at Google Cloud Next in Mandalay Bay at the House of Blues. Thanks for checking in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.